already talked about, Carter, who we are. We're New Thought and what we believe. That we're one, we're connected. I just love how this message just comes out in everything that we do and everywhere we are, opportunities to recognize that we are connected and we are one. And we were talking about in our class this morning, we're actually getting through a chapter pretty much a time now. So I'm thinking by the end of the year, we may be finished with this book. We were talking about envy and jealousy, and it's a thing that happens for us as human beings. They even talked about this video that they have of capuchin monkeys being jealous when they were very happy with the cucumbers they were getting, but when they saw another monkey getting grapes, they're like, why am I getting these sucking salty cucumbers? Where are the grapes for me? So that's just a thing in the animal kingdom. We just feel jealousy, and we're talking about how we deal with that. And part of the thing that they do in Tibetan culture is what they call mudita. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, M-U-D-I-T-A. And it's really about being connected, knowing that we are one. We are one with one another. And so we're happy for each other. And in the African culture, they were talking about when they meet one another, instead of saying, how are you doing today, they say, how are we doing? How are we doing? Because we're connected. So that's what we know and that's what we believe. And what we try to do here at Harmony Spiritual Center in Fort Worth is to teach how this actually works. Because this is a living spirituality. It's not one that we just do on Sunday mornings. We live this spirituality throughout the week. And everything that we do and everyone that we meet, we look at them and we see that we're connected and we're happy for their successes. And we know that when we look at one another, we are looking at individualized expressions of the one spirit and the one love. And so what happens is that, and what we talked about this morning, and what we know here, is that you have to practice these ideas. It can't just be a one-off. If we're meditating, because that's one of the tools that we use, meditation and prayer, you want to meditate and pray all the time. So that when you need it, whether it's an emergency or whether you're just putting demand onto the universe, because that's how we pray, we simply ask, put a demand, a choice out to the universe, and believe that it is so. Well, if you understand how that works, it's because you've practiced it. It's because you practice how to meditate and hear a word from spirit or God or that which is greater than you, whatever you want to call that. And we practice these ideas. So what we come here all the time, and what I'm trying to do each Sunday, is to give you examples of what we do and how it works, living out in the universe. How does it work? What do we actually do to make this work for us, or to allow it to work? We don't make anything happen, we let it happen. And so how do we do that? We make a decision for it. That's what we do. So we've been talking about, I think last week the talk was try it before you say no. You know, and what we're really doing is thinking about automatic responses. Because sometimes we just have automatic responses to life that are based on things we've been told, things we believed before in the past, things we grew up with, which may or may not work for you now. And so so not only is it about trying a food or trying something or a custom or whatever, it's also taking on and trying out some things that you've done before and saying to yourself, is this how I still want to be? And if it is, it's okay. But the idea is to constantly be checking with yourself. And we do this at least at the beginning of the year. We talk about, you know, are we where we want to be? At the beginning of the year, let's take a look at, is this how we want to live? What do we believe? What are our truths? What are our individually? What are our values? You know, because when we understand what our values are, that points the way to how we want to live and how we want to be in the world. So today, I'm talking about think your way through it. Think your way through it. And this actually came from Jason. Many of you met Jason. He's my previous husband, former husband. And we're still friends. We talk all the time. And he was so very supportive, and still is. Always has been a very supportive person in my life. He's always said to me, you're smart. You know, he was the one that said, you need to finish, you need to get your degree because you're smart, you're smarter than me. And I have a bachelor's, you at least do that. Get that done because you need to do it. It's who you are, you can get it done. You don't need to get a house. He was the first person to say I could get a house. I didn't think I could. He said, oh yeah, you can. You make enough money. Here, I'm gonna help you. Here's how we do it. And I got my first house because of the things that he said. So he did a lot of great things for my life. And he did a lot of great things that at the time he was doing, I didn't think they were so great. You know what I mean? Thinks he knows everything. But he did. And so what he would say to me was, and he'd already laid the background that he thought I was smart. He'd already laid that background. So he would say, if I would say something like, and he was a person who was good with answering questions. He would say something, and I'm really good at saying, oh, I'm sorry, what is that word you're using? I don't understand that. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll explain that. And he would explain to ad nauseum, but that's another story. But he would explain things to me and all that kind of thing. But then there came a time when he just knew that I could figure it out, and I was just asking because I didn't want to figure it out. And he would say, just think it through. Look at it and think it through. What the hell? Why can't you just tell me? Well, that's what I want to tell you guys, that we can do this. We can actually, instead of just asking, well, can somebody help me? You can actually help yourself. And the reason why I want to share this with you is because people talk to me, my friends and people in my group that I work in, and they say, oh, you're a computer expert. I'm like, yeah, in this group. But not really. The reason why I'm a computer expert in this group is because of what Jason said, and this whole look at it and think it through. Okay? So really, the computers aren't made for us not to be able to use it. The programs aren't made for us not to be able to use it. They're made for us to be able to use it. All we got to do is think about it. What is it that here's what I know about a computer, and Carter can back me up. If I'm wrong, you can straighten it out. But I know that computers can only do what you've told them to do, right? So if it's not giving you what you want, you didn't tell it the right thing. I get that. Okay, so I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, well, that's not what I wanted. What did I say? I wasn't clear about this thing, or whatever it is. That's one of the ways in which you can just become more comfortable with not knowing, because you do actually know. You can actually figure a lot of things out by not being fearful. One of the things that people are afraid of, I'm just going to use a computer because it's such a common fear for a lot of people, is that they figure it's going to blow up, like they're going to do something and the computer's going to blow up. And what we know for sure, if you call any computer tech, the first thing they're going to ask you is what? Is it on? Yeah. Seriously, is it on? Yep. Is it plugged in? Yep. And I'm telling you, I argued with a computer tech for 30 minutes one time because I knew it was plugged in, like I had connected it to the right thing. And they said, well, get up. And we're going through all things. He said, all right, well, just get up and physically look at it. And so I looked at him, like, God darn it. Shoot. It wasn't plugged in. So my point is that life is much more simpler than we think it is. We get over our fears, and we believe that we have the power to do things. We are the divine. Do you get that? That means there's so much information flowing through us at the drop of. All we got to do is ask. Just look at it and go, okay, what do I need to know? What's going on here? And let it come to you. So that's just a comforting thing. But I also want to share you some stories, and that's one story. But I was talking to my granddaughter. Why did I frame this particular story? Okay, yes, I'll tell you about it. Think about it. So my granddaughter, when I'm talking about practicing things, and what we want to do is make things a habit that are where you want to go. So for me right now, meditation is a habit. Prayer is a habit, not just for when things aren't going well, but for all the time. Every morning I'm praying and meditating because I just want to be in the habit of hearing Spirit talk to me and me what it sounds like when I'm talking to Spirit. You guys have heard me tell you how I talk to Spirit. I have Spirit like I'm talking to you. That's how I do it. But you do it however you want to. So we want to make thinking a habit. So I was talking with my granddaughter, and she and I, since we went to Mexico together, and she's just a beautiful girl, and she said, Grandma, I really want to get to know you more. And so let's make a date every Monday morning to talk to each other. And so every Monday morning we FaceTime each other, and we just kind of talk about how the week is going and yada yada. So she's she got her scholarship at University of UNLV, Las Vegas, as a cheerleader. So which is very athletic. That'll tell you what a great personality is, just smiling and just happy all the time and just traveling all over the world and just doing great things. So she was talking to one of her girlfriends, and the girlfriend asked her, she was getting ready to play a game, or she was showing her a game, and she said, do you know how to play this game? The girlfriend asked her, are you aware of this game? My granddaughter started thinking, took her a second, she was thinking about it. And then her friend got in and she said, you know, it's okay if you don't know the answer. And so I could see from my granddaughter's face that I hurt her feelings. And she was thinking, oh, am I that person that I got to know everything? That's what she was thinking. That's how she took it. Like, and that's what the girl gave it to her. Like, you just think you know everything. It's okay if you don't know everything. And I said to her, that's not what you're doing. You weren't trying to know everything. You have done many things. You've traveled all over the world. You've lived in so many different places. What you were doing was searching your memory to see if you have a similar, because I mean, you've played games. We played games in Mexico, all kinds of games. You've played so many games, you're just looking to see if you actually have a memory of it. That's what you were doing. She goes, you know, that is what I was doing. I said, yeah, that is what you were doing. You're not making things up. My point is this. We all have lots of memories. If we've lived to a certain age, over 20, not my certain age, not a woman of a certain age, talking about all ages. If you've lived to a while, you've done some things. And you can just search your memory. One of the things that happens when somebody asks me a question, they'll say, Pjae, what do you think about this? What do I think? I'm not going to just throw out crap. Well, it may be crap, but I don't know. But I'm going to be thought about crap, all right? So I'm not going to just stuff off the top of my head, because that's what matters to me. Back to the values situation, that I'm speaking truth as I know it. So we have the ability, just because someone's asking a question doesn't mean you have to respond right away. You have a moment to think about it. Well, don't you, because I get this a lot. Pjae, don't you agree? I see what you're saying, and I hear you on that part, but no, I don't. I mean, we have to take a moment to speak about what we know and what we feel. Take a moment to look at something and say, what do I know about this? What do I already know about this? I can do this. Spirit will bring you what you need to know. We are one. We are individualized expressions. Do you understand how much power you have? So that's what it looks like when we're talking about practicing the presence, about what a live spirituality looks like. It's about seeing that in everybody, knowing that everybody is capable, knowing that when someone wants something, because this is one of my favorite things, you can't answer a question that hasn't been asked. So no point in giving anybody advice other than asking you for advice. But if they give you a moment to jump in, go ahead and jump in with what you know, what you know to be true. We know a lot. We don't have to be embarrassed about that. And we can question what we know. I do it all the time. How do I know that? What makes me say this? What experience do I have? And what I can tell you this, that people may not know what you're talking about, not believe you, but they cannot argue with what you know for sure. This is the thing that Oprah says, that I really understand what I know for sure. This is why we practice the presence. This is why it's a practice. Because when you're out, somebody says, well, how do you, here's a thing that comes to me all the time. When we talk about love, and you look and you see that everyone is an individualized expression of the one love. The reason we do that is because, number one, when you look at that, you know that they're capable of living whatever life they want. So they're clearly living the life they're choosing. Okay, so we don't have to judge it. We don't have to do any of that. And so we get to do that. And someone says to me, well, I get this all the time when I say, you gotta love everybody. Ooh, how do you do that? Because they're thinking about somebody they don't care too much for, right? I'm not talking about caring for or loving what they're doing. You can love somebody without loving the behavior that they're exhibiting at this moment. Do you get that? That's a high concept. It's a high concept because what you're loving is possibility. You see where they could go if they want to. They're choosing to be where they are, and that is their choice. One person, one choice, right? I get a choice to my life, you get a choice for your life. I don't get to judge that. And if I look at you and I see God, you're pre-forgiven for whatever I think is you've done is wrong. No, I forgive you for that. I'm compassionate. Because I don't know what you've been through. Do you know? Do you know what I've been through? I don't know what you've been through. I don't know what you have seen, what you have heard. Pat was talking this morning about a lesson she wanted to teach her. Am I bring this up? Can I bring this up? Okay. I wouldn't finish it if you said no. But she was talking about a lesson she's trying to teach her grandkids, and where one grandkid, smushed another one's face, and she's trying to show them what happens when you hurt somebody. So her idea, and I love this, is that she's going to get a picture of their faces and crinkle the faces up. Just crinkle the face, just pictures, crinkle the face up on paper, and then straighten it out. And you still see that the wrinkles are still there. That the hurt and the pain that we cause is still there. Even though people can get over it or around it or through, they don't completely get over it. You can't take back something, right, ugly that we've done. We can't take it back. So the best thing to do is not to do it in the first place. And we do that when we practice. When we practice loving one another, when we practice that we see, and so we don't let those ugly things come out, because if you see God, I'm looking at God, I don't want George to get all pissed off at me. I'm not going to, in all of his iterations, I don't want George pissed off. I want George happy to help me, right? And George doesn't get pissed off because that's like a person. I'm just saying that. But I'm just saying, if you're looking at God, how do you want to talk to God? How do you want to talk to God? Like I love God. And I'm going to talk to someone else like I love them. I don't care how they're showing up. That's on them, and that's whatever they're going through, and that's their right. But what we get to do as a living spirituality is love all the time, which means we have compassion for what someone else is going through that we don't necessarily know. And we talk all the time about smiling and just putting our hearts out there all the time. That's the practice. That's what we do. That's what Harmony Spiritual Center is about. A living spirituality that we live and practice in every single thing that we do. So think your way through it. It's simply about thinking about, knowing that you have so much more power than you know, to just look at something and figure it out and ask Spirit, what is happening here? Even if you're talking to someone, I'll be talking to somebody and I'll hear them say something or do something that seems a little strange to me, and I'll actually, in the middle of just watching them, I'm thinking, in myself, I'm talking to Spirit, I'm going, what's happening here? What am I looking at? Because I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at. And I'll just ask, what am I looking at? What's going on? Spirit generally says, don't matter what you're looking at. What you're looking at is me. Okay. What you're looking at is me. Okay. In this iteration. Okay. Okay. So that's what we get to do. And I'm just talking about things that we get to use, because again, if this is a living spirituality, how do we take it out into the world? So I'm going to give you a couple of steps. We know more than we think, so we just got to take a little time to think about something, observe something, review an idea, rethink it. We have the time. What's the hurry? We have the time. There's no hurry. You know more than you think, and it's okay to take your time. So the 3 things we can do, you can just ask a question. Like I said, what's going on here? What is going on here? What is this? What could I do here? What would this look like? What if? Just ask yourself some questions. Take a second. It doesn't take but a few seconds for the questions to come through your head and for the answers to pop in. It's not like you're going to be standing for an hour looking at somebody going. It's not like that. It's real quick. It's real quick. Number 2, you can stop. Just look and consider. Think about this if you're working on let's just talk, if you're working on your computer, you're trying to figure out whether you should use Word, or I hear a lot of people say, oh, I can't do Excel. Well, what happens? If the moment you say that, you're right. You can't. You can't. The moment you say, oh, I can't do Excel. Ooh, I can't read a map. Well, you're right. Spirit always says, oh, you're absolutely right. But what if you just change that? And if you say I can't, you can X it out, King's X, and go back and, you know what, that's not true. That's not true. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. So stop, look, and consider. Just think it through. Excel is not a hard thing to learn. It's just numbers, and then the program adds up the numbers for you. So you don't have to add, multiply. You don't do any of that. You just got to put them in the right place. That's all. And as we were talking this morning, YouTube University. Anything you want to know, trust me, is on YouTube. You can ask her, how do I put numbers in Excel? And all 52 videos will come up and show you. And then explain it for beginners, or wherever you may be. That's number 1, ask a question. Number 2, stop, look, and consider. And number 3, and I think the biggest of all, don't be afraid. Just don't be afraid. Just try it. What's going to happen if you can always go back to what you know, right? But if you try, if you reconsider, you give yourself an opportunity to change your mind. Change your thinking, change your mind, you change your life. And that's what we're here to talk about, right? Is to have the greatest life we can at any time. So, a couple of quotes I want to leave you with. I never even heard this author, U.S. Anderson. He has a book called The 3 Magic Words. Conceptual habits, that's just autopilot, of the conscious mind is the greatest bar, the greatest stopper to man's discovery of himself. Okay? Automatic thinking is our greatest stopper for us discovering who we are. And autopilot, I understand that we don't always, when I'm driving, I want to put it on autopilot. There are places when you want to use autopilot. But it's sometimes you can just stop yourself and go, wait, that's an automatic response. Is that what I still believe now? Was that something from my childhood, something when I was 20, 30? I mean, we change our minds at different ages. So we get to rethink that. And the final thing I want to leave you with is this. The greatest force we have, the greatest power, is derived from the power of our thoughts, of our thinking. The more you hone that power, the more powerful it is. The silent power of thought, of our thought, influences people even at a distance because our minds are one. Our minds are one, as well as many. As well as many. The universe is a cobweb and our minds are like spiders. And we can go anywhere we want. Anywhere we want. Namaste.